And we are live. Welcome back to the channel, you beautiful people. Alright, just a quick reminder, if you like my content, please like, comment, and subscribe, and even share it on social media or with a friend if you feel that they would enjoy my content, alright? And also check me out on Rumble at Deep Talk TV for Rumble exclusives that you won't find on YouTube because of all the demonetization, censorship that's been going on around on the platform lately. All right, there's other topics that I do feel a deep passion for and I would like to talk about, but they're just too much, probably too extreme, maybe too vulgar for YouTube. All right, so if you'd like to check out more of my content, please check me out on Rumble. All right, and without further ado, let's dive into the topic. All right, so what are we talking about today? This is my, I guess, in defense of the Passport Bros community, right? So how did this topic come about? Well, I was scrolling on YouTube while I was watching some videos, and I saw a video posted by one of the commentary creators that I also follow as well, Playback, right? I really like their content. They're pretty funny, and there are some times where I disagree with them in some aspects, like today. I saw they made a video on the Passport Bros. If you are unfamiliar with the Passport Bros movement, it is an online movement where men basically believe that Western women are not that feminine anymore. They're not that traditional. You have a lot of the boss babe, independent women, don't need no man types. You know, a woman needs a man like a fish needs a bicycle, right? That old saying. Basically, you know, with the transformation of the dating landscape with things like OnlyFans and social media, you know, Instagram, instant validation, instant dopamine hits, sugar dating, and all these things like that, a lot of men are feeling either like they're being left behind in the dating market, or if they aren't being left behind, they're kind of out of viable options or good options as far as partners, right? And basically, they realize that the dating landscape has changed a lot within, especially like the last 20 years, right? Especially with the advent of the internet. Once all of those things started to pop up, the dating landscape started to change. And this content is kind of like a branch out of like a lot of the red pill manosphere space. So like recently, within the past few years, people like Andrew Tate and Kevin Samuels and the Fresh and Fit podcast and many other people have been getting a lot more attention, right? And this is kind of like a branch off of that community. And recently, over the past, I want to say like maybe a few weeks, maybe past 2-3 months, they've been starting to get a little bit of momentum, and they've started to get more controversy because of that momentum. And a lot of people are basically calling these guys dusty or bums. A lot of women are making fun of them, saying, oh, we don't want you anyway. Good riddance. Oh, well, you can't do well with American women. You're weird or you're insecure. They've been called even cringe or predatory for wanting to date women from other countries who may or may not speak English, who are in poor economic conditions, a poor country, etc., etc.
Materialistic shit. I think when we're talking about the Passport Bros, the thing is, like, if you actually, when you pay attention to the Passport Bros, like, they're getting women from, like, the DR, Colombia, yes. The Philippines, Thailand, like women that can speak very little English, women that don't have education, women that need them.
Women are raised to be wives. Mm-hmm. They learn everything from birth, damn near, from their father, from their mother, how to be a wife and how to support your man.
Women that need them.
That's it.
And that's the issue.
Women that need them.
Issue. It's not even women that need them. It's women that treat them with respect.
So we don't.
Y'all know y'all don't. Stop
yourself.
That's not true. You say y'all. Who you speaking to?
That is one thing that Playback pointed out in their video, is that they said that this movement does have a lot of cringe, and I will admit that, right? Like I will agree with them on that point. I will extend that olive branch out. There are a lot of guys who are pretty cringe, and there are a lot of guys who seem to have this idea that, like, oh, well, Western women have no interest in me, they have no interest in dating me, etc., etc. So I'm just gonna go to Brazil, or I'm just going to go to the Philippines or Thailand or whatever the case may be, right?
Problem is now, the more and more of these men that come out and they speak about their experiences of Passport Bro, the more and more cringe they sound. Because this nigga sounds cringe, bro. As fuck, bro. And now I'm starting to believe that it had nothing to do with women in America, but rather the fact that maybe you are either socially awkward or just cringe as fuck. That's why you weren't that really... You weren't socially aware enough to acknowledge that in America. So then you go overseas and you meet a woman who can barely speak English, and then you bring her back over because she wants to come to America anyway, bro. Because this shit is...
There are some of those guys, right? But from what I've seen from the Passport Bros community, at least on YouTube, there's a lot of good looking guys, a lot of guys who have their shit together, a lot of guys who are very well dressed, very well mannered and things like that. And they go over and, you know, those were the guys that I saw, at least from the Passport Bros community over like a year or two ago when I first originally found them. And they were living life. They're like, hey man, like Brazil's the spot, you know, Dominican Republic's the spot, Philippines the spot. Like these women are so great. They treat me, you know, with respect and kindness, like even if we are or not dating, like et cetera, right? And they would share their experiences and say like, hey guys, like if you feel the same way like a lot of us other guys do, come on into these other countries and try it out, right? And don't get me wrong, like I do think it is incredibly important to work on your social skills, right? To work on yourself in all aspects of life, to work on your physical fitness, to, you know, make sure you're doing the simple things like brushing your teeth, washing your face, brushing your hair, taking care of your, you know, facial hair, like your beard if you have some, right? Like making sure that you learn how to dress, making sure like you need to learn all of these things, right? But at the same time, if you do those things in America, a lot of men in America or in Western countries in general feel like for all of that work, they're not getting the equivalent exchange, I guess you would say, in terms of the quality of woman that they would get. And this is where I have to give a little bit of pushback to Playback about what they were and what a lot of people are saying about the Passport Bros community, right? As I said before, the dating landscape has changed and the dating expectations have changed as well, right? You don't really have to look that far, you know, say for instance on places like YouTube or TikTok or Instagram to see, you know, street interviews or podcasts or conversations with women saying that her partner needs to make, you know, 6 figures or more, right? Or that, you know, how a woman couldn't date a short guy, and basically that they see any guy under 6 feet as short, even though the girl is only like, you know, 5'3" or something like that, right? And there's a lot of this going around, and this didn't come up out of nowhere, right? Like I remember being in high school in the, you know, mid 2010s, and this rhetoric was going around. I remember how, you know, a woman and just like tons of girls would be instantly attracted to a guy just because he was tall. They didn't even know him yet, didn't even speak to him yet, but just because he was tall, he was seen as attractive, right? You know, of course, if you are tall, that doesn't make you automatically attractive, but it is a big advantage when it comes to dating, right? And it can make some men insecure and things like that. We have now started to see a cultural shift, right? So, you know, a lot of the dating has changed, and then as a result you see a lot of, you know, now manosphere content, right? So Kevin Samuels during the pandemic got a lot of attention. Andrew Tate recently got a lot of attention. The Fresh and Fit podcast has been getting a lot of attention and controversy. You know, a lot of these manosphere groups and MGTOW, incels, and all these people like that, they're starting to get a lot of attention. And I think that is because, and Passport Bros as well, and I think that's because overall men have seen that things have changed, and men have been trying to talk out about it. Men have been trying to speak out and give their side of things, give their side of the story when it comes to dating and how they're struggling or whatever the case may be. And I will say personally as a man, a lot of times we get gaslit. A lot of times we get told that, oh, well, maybe you're just, you know, not that great of a guy, or, oh, you know, any girl would love to be with you, but then they don't end up being with you, right? certain things like that. But then men start talking to each other, either, in person, in groups, or online, on Reddit forums or whatever. And then now this whole, men content, manosphere content has started to come about. And people are automatically calling it misogynistic or, predatory or whatever the case may be. But this is purely just a reaction to the fact that men were not getting the answers that they wanted before. It seems as though as society as a whole don't really care about men's problems, right? So what is the only thing that we can do? Well, we can either bitch about it and complain and let things stay the same, or we can fix it ourselves, right? We can find our own solution to it. And that's where you have, communities like, say, for instance, the, MGTOW community starting to pop up. You got the incels talking about, I can't sleep with a woman because I'm short or because I'm this or because I wasn't born a Chad or whatever the case may be, right? Like, this is just a natural reaction to the way things have turned out. And a lot of this is stemming from the fact that, overall, a lot of men, myself included, see that, dating has changed, but yet there still seems to be this burden on men, from society and from women, that they still want men to remain traditional in a sense, but they're not holding women to the same standard of being feminine, right? So let me go ahead and give an example. Like, women still want men to make the first move when, dating, right? Like when approaching a woman. They want a man to come up to them. They want a man to, introduce himself and, make her laugh and make her interested and stuff like that. And, ask her out on a date, pick her up from the date, take her to the restaurant. Be a good conversationalist during the dinner. Pay for the dinner, take her back, be a good gentleman, open the doors, all this good stuff, right? And in a long-term relationship, women in general would like a man to be able to pay for most of the expenses, right? So for instance, if they got married, a lot of women would prefer it. A man pays for, most of the bills, takes care of the house, takes care of the, mortgage payments, takes care of credit card payments, all those things like that, right? As a man, you're expected to initiate all these things and still be masculine and traditional, at least from women, from society as a whole. But then dare a man ask a woman to make him a sandwich or do the laundry or, clean up the house or clean up his room or something like that. And then it's automatically deemed misogynistic. It's automatically deemed disrespectful. And this is something that's been a huge talking point of the manosphere space for some time, is that basically men are held to their traditional standards while letting women be able to jump in and out of theirs. And many men in Western countries, not just in the United States, but also in Canada, in the UK, in, Germany and other places like that, men are starting to speak out and men are starting to talk to each other about it. And they have been for some time, but it seems as though no one really gives a shit about men or their struggles. So men started to solve this for themselves. And it's kind of irritating that now everyone wants to hop on and start making fun of these men. But before, when men were dealing with all the struggles before, no one really cared. But now all of a sudden that men start leaving Western countries looking for wives because they don't feel that Western women are, wife material. Now everyone has something to say about it. And it's kind of funny to me, if you ask me, right? But one thing that I noticed that's a difference when you look at, say, for instance, the experience of the Passport Bros community, they say in general, women tend to treat them much kinder and with much more respect, whether they're dating them or not, right? Like, just in general, women tend to be more feminine. They tend to be more appreciative. Say, for instance, if you open a door for them, they'll always say thank you. They'll be kind. They'll give you a smile and things like that, right? But now, like say, for instance, in Western countries, you'll open a door for a woman and she might just walk right past you and not even say anything, right? And that's becoming more of a normal thing. And say, for instance, when it comes to relationships, a lot of these Passport Bros are saying these women are much more kinder and much more nicer. They actually check up on me consistently. They, always ask if I ate. They'll always, if I didn't eat, they'll always offer to cook me up something right on the spot. They'll always, clean up my apartment without asking. And from my experience, from my 25 years of experience in America, and from my dating experience ever since I was in middle school, I've never had a woman give me that kind of treatment, right? And as a man, I'm not gonna lie, that seems very nice. Like, I would love that. I would love a woman to be able to do those kind of things for me. And a lot of people also say that these kind of women are only really interested in you for your money, because, you know, you come from a Western country which has a higher rate, you know, because of the dollar conversion. So say, for instance, you can make a 40 or 50,000 a year salary, and that's only average in the United States. But when you go to, say, somewhere like the Philippines, like, you're in like the top 10%, top 1% probably, of people. So, you know, women are looking at you more for that reason, right?
Cringe, dog.
I think one, Americans don't know how badly other people that aren't American want to live here.
Facts.
And then two, like, your dollar travels pretty far, so you could be average in this country, but you are rich in 90% of the world, dog. You are rich as fuck. If you take your average income and you go somewhere else with that, bro, you are filthy fucking rich in most places on this planet. So you're coming in there wealthy, and you can get her access to America legally. Yeah, bro.
And here's something I gotta say about that. Like, if you are in the top 10% or top 1% in America, it's the same thing. Like, if you have more money, you are just more attractive to women, like, regardless, right? Like, that's why you can see, you know, fairly unattractive or average looking guys who, say, for instance, make an absorbent amount of money or make a well above average amount of money, and they're able to date, you know, these supermodel looking women or whatever the case may be because of the money they make. That's everywhere in the world. That's not just in America or just when you go overseas and that all these women are just a bunch of gold diggers. If you make more money, that makes you more attractive to women as a man. That's just a fact of life. And another reason that they give is, say, for instance, like, oh, well, these women just want to date you and, you know, come over to America for a visa and stuff like that. And, you know, yeah, there are women like that. Like, there are people like that. But I would say that the majority of people that you would probably be dating when you go overseas are not like that. And if they want to leave their country, well, that probably isn't the type of person that you want to date, honestly. When it comes to the fact of like, oh, well, these women just want to come to America to get a visa, not every single person wants to come to America, right? Like, I'm not sure if Americans and just Western countries in general know this, but America is not the star-spangled beacon of freedom that it used to be, right? Like, people don't look at America the same way that they did, say, in the early 2000s. America is now the laughing stock of the world. Like, people laugh at us. And at least the way I see it, the only reason that people really still want to come to America is just because of the opportunities and the money. But that's it. And just overall landscape and just culture of the people in America, they don't really care too much for that. They really only care about the money and opportunities because there's not as much overseas. You know, that's really it. Like, people aren't coming to America for the people. They're not coming to America for the culture. They used to come for the American dream, but the American dream is kind of dead and buried at this point. No one really cares about that anymore. There are a lot of people who are making fun of them because they're saying it's cringe, which sometimes it is, but there's also a lot of people making fun of them because they are mad that men don't really see women in the Western countries as a viable option for dating anymore. It's kind of like they're getting mad because they're being rejected in a sense. And the fact that men are now starting to pull away from dating now. A lot of men are single and sexless now, right? And a lot of the women in the Western countries now looking for the top percentage of men, and they're saying, oh, well, if I can't get that man, I'm fine being single. Well, with the amount of men leaving the country, there's going to be a lot of single people within the Western countries in the next coming years. And the more that this passport bros movement gains traction, I think we're going to be seeing a very dark future in the dating market within the next probably 10 to 20 years. All right. And overall, to just kind of tie a bow on this video, I don't really have a problem with playback or, anything. It's just I disagree with some of the things that they said in their video because it kind of sounded like the same rhetoric that I've heard, other people spout saying that, these guys are cringe or predatory or, oh, they're just going to overseas to other countries because they can't do well with women in America, right? it's fine to disagree with it, but I don't think that people should be trashing it the way that they do. But at the end of the day, your opinion is your opinion, all right? Well, I think that's all I have for this video. If you like the video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Remember, always think for yourself, all right? Deuces.